Think about this for a moment. At its most basic form, what is Super Mario to you? Well, if I had to answer that myself, it's two plumbers traveling through the Mushroom Kingdom while stomping on Goombas and Koopas so they can save the princess. That is the most cookie-cutter definition I can give you. And the thing is, it applies to so many Mario games. And that is okay. They don't need anything very complex or unique to stand out and be loved, because they have more than enough substance to make up for their simplicity. But then what? What happens when Mario games attempt to be something more, but still keep the core essence alive? That's what the Mario RPGs do. The point of this video is not to shit on these games. In fact, I've never played them, except this one. It fucking sucks. I won't go in too deep about these ones unless it's absolutely necessary. The point here is to explain why there are people that feel the way they do about them. What exactly did past games have that has pushed so many to think the magic is in there? Mario RPGs most of the time have been simple and easy to pick up and play. They carried all the basics you will expect from the genre by having turn-based combat. What set them apart, however, was the timing system implemented in every game. A mechanic that boosted the player's attack if they hit the right button at the right moment. It wasn't only a way to dish out more damage, but you could also use it to defend yourself. This small mechanic made combat interactive and rewarding at the same time, but not all games utilized it the same way. Take for example Super Mario RPG. When you look at its roots, you can sum up its gameplay as a more simplistic Final Fantasy. You had your normal attacks, your spells, different skills, and your characters that had different jobs. It was easier, yeah, but the gameplay itself was still more inclined towards a classic RPG, and the timing system was more of a side mechanic that benefited the player if they knew how to use it to its fullest. You could say that at this point, timing your inputs was still taking shape. That's where Paper Mario will expand on it, pretty much basing its whole gameplay around that idea. Let me tell you, a few moments ago, I just ended up calling Mario RPG a more simplistic Final Fantasy. Yet, Paper Mario is even more simplistic. There are less party members in battle. Special attacks aren't exactly hard to execute, and equipment was a minor thing to consider. Even with that, these games managed to stand out, be unique, and deliver a decent challenge at the same time. How could they achieve that? In most RPGs you can think of, there's a big joy in seeing your numbers increase. These were evidence that there was progression, that your characters were getting stronger. Well, Paper Mario decided to get us far away from that concept, because it always keeps its numbers small. But that's exactly what made its gameplay so fun without being a total cakewalk. Because it makes every point matter, but also makes the timing system much more crucial to victory. It highlights how much missing an input can make a total difference. What sticks out to me is that it makes small numbers pack a punch. For example, in the prologue of the N64 game, Bowser uses an attack that knocks you out by doing 10 points of damage, your initial HP. As a child, just seeing a number 10 made me think, what? Yeah, it's small, but it demonstrated how powerful it is. Hell, even later in the game, that's still a very dangerous attack you have to be extra careful for. I remember this one time when my brother showed me a guide that said the final boss had 99 points of HP. And that gave me a shock, because Paper Mario made me believe that was an incredibly high number. Oh, little did I know. As we have gathered so far, Super Mario RPG is more traditional, with the timing system being an extra bonus you can exploit. Paper Mario revolves its whole combat around this system, but also keeps things small so anyone can digest it. How do the Mario and Luigi games handle this? Simply put, just like Paper Mario, in the sense that they constantly highlight the importance of the timing system during battle. However, some things are easily distinguishable on sight. In Paper Mario, everything is simple and easy to understand. The Mario and Luigi games provide more of a challenge, with many more variables to consider. The special moves are harder to pull off, and you still have to time your attacks well to deal extra damage. This, coupled with having control of at least 2 characters at the same time, means the games demand a much higher degree of coordination and calls on the player's reflexes. Difficulty and higher numbers are one thing, but what helps Mario and Luigi is how it approaches the timing system. Let's compare. Since Paper Mario deals with smaller numbers, you could say it's more defense-oriented, since just 1 point can be the difference between victory or defeat. You can't exactly dodge, so it's about finding a way to minimize the damage. In other words, it values patience. Mario and Luigi focuses on 2 things, evasion and counterattacks. By taking this route, it makes room for more death. If you attack and miss an input, you're punished by simply not getting that extra damage. However, if you're a skilled player, then you can capitalize on not only your turn, but the enemies as well. Sure, it's harder, because their patterns are trickier to figure out, and sometimes you have to consider when it's good to counterattack and when it's better to dodge. It values reaction, but that is what makes it so rewarding and fun to play. What I find so intriguing about these games is that they all share the same combat mechanic, but executed in different ways to the point where they don't feel the same, but still keep a sense of familiarity by being faithful to their roots. And I think that word is important here. Roots. Even if they are RPGs, at heart they are still Mario games, and you will be reminded of that every time. They're still joyful, charming, and energetic. Exploration is always relegated to minor platforming challenges. The oddballs that are thrown at you are wacky, and the world itself is Mario. But there is so much more than that. Great gameplay was just one part of the equation, but what gave these games that magic was how unique they were with their worlds and characters. Take for instance Gino from Super Mario RPG. Why do you think fans scream for his inclusion in Super Smash Bros? He's cool, he's very useful, but he's also an oddity to the Mario universe. He was a one-shot character that wedged himself in the minds of many. And that is how it goes for the other games. To put this in perspective, as a kid, I fell in love with the original Paper Mario. Yeah, the visuals were pretty, the characters looked adorable, and the gameplay was fun. But there was something else. How it made the Mushroom Kingdom feel so different. Because anywhere we look, there was something familiar being put in another light. In the first hours of the game, you are saved by civilized Goombas. Later, you also find a society full of Koopas, and you get to help them. After many games of stomping on these enemies, I now have them as allies. That was really cool! But they weren't your average run-of-the-mill enemies now being good. They had small alterations that made them stand out. Lady Bow wouldn't be one of my favorite party members if she didn't have a great design and a lovable personality quirk. I'm sorry, I actually have a weakness for that laugh. I've always found spikes to be some of the most forgettable Mario enemies in existence. Yet, the only reason I remember they exist is because I love the fight against the invincible Tuba Bluba. And that's the thing that carries through these games. The world is not memorable because the characters are very deep. It's because they stand out, along with whatever new ideas they will bring to the Mario universe. Meanwhile, Mario and Luigi, along with Super Mario RPG, follow a similar path in taking liberties with its pre-established concepts and adding new stuff. But I believe that here, the games are so full of charm because they put a bigger emphasis in character. Before playing any of these games, what was Bowser to you? For me, he was another villain. And also the asshole who will always fuck me over in Mario Party. But what is Bowser in the RPGs? Cocky, sarcastic, and narcissistic. He's a lovable goofball that will always have something to say and will entertain you while doing so. In fact, A huge complaint I always had about Sticker Star was that Bowser doesn't say a single word. They destroyed everything I liked about him just to keep it as traditional as possible. Well, at least in that game. It generally sucks. In the mainline series, how many times have you seen Mario and Luigi act as actual brothers? The Mario and Luigi series fills in that area, and then some. I always look forward to progressing through the games just to see how they will react to what happens around them, and how they will deal with it together. I could even go on about how Super Paper Mario prioritizes characters and original ideas. But I think that game is a whole different beast that deserves its own video, and I still wanted to mention it. So that's the thing with them. It's small stuff that, technically speaking, is nothing you haven't seen before in the genre. But the Mario RPGs is executed in such a way that they stick with you. On their face, they are still games about saving Princess Peach, but it's the content of their adventures that set them apart. The gameplay made turn-based combat fun with an interactive element. The stories, while simple on the surface, always had a dynamic weirdness to them which added a lot. And the worlds always kept your interest by pushing you out of your comfort zone. Simply put, these games had a unique vibe because they were willing to take risks and be original, while always reminding us that this is still Super Mario. You know, I've always hated when people try to shut down criticism to any media they like. Oh my god, shut up and let people enjoy things. Let people criticize things? The worst part is that most of the time, they don't even know why the criticism happens in the first place. No! Fans are not asking for the 1000-year door 2. Fans are asking for sequels that bring fresh new ideas while staying true to the series' formula. I repeat, the point of this video was not to hate on these titles, but you can't deny there's something missing in them. Sticker Star? God, I really hate this game. It's so bad. Paper Jam? I always hear the same. The game is good, but it's the weakest and least original Mario and Luigi game. Color Splash? I've genuinely never seen anyone talk about it. Like, I recall seeing good comments during its release, but in the long term, who even talks about it? I will say some of the blame falls on the Wii U's failure, but there were tons of other Wii U games being spoken of before they were ported to the Switch. So what did I deduce from that? They're just another game of the bunch. Yeah, you know, when you play them and have fun, and then you beat them and forget about them a few days later. I mean, I'm willing to give them a fair chance and be proven wrong. Maybe they are good in their own different way, just like Super Paper Mario. Again, that's another video for another day. But I'll always respect the classics for what they did, and how they achieved that. They were simple, fun, charming, and original. They managed to stick out in the endless sea of RPGs, while still having everything we love about Super Mario.